The moment I stepped onto the porch of my grandfather's old cabin, the air hit me like a slap crisp, pine-soaked, carrying the faint hum of cicadas in the twilight. I'd spent years dreaming of this place, the one spot on earth where the world felt right. The deed was in my hand, creased and yellowed, but ironclad, passed down from Grandpa Eli, who'd carved out this slice of mountain heaven decades ago. I'd come to claim it, to rebuild the sagging roof and make it mine. But then I saw her Karen, striding across the meadow like she owned every blade of grass, her clipboard gleaming with self-righteous fury. "This lot's HOA common property now," she barked, her voice cutting through the evening chill like a chainsaw. "You don't belong here." I froze, my boots sinking into the soft earth, the deed suddenly heavy in my pocket. Common property. My grandfather's land. The place where he taught me to fish, where we'd sit by the fire listening to the crackle of logs and the distant howl of coyotes. My blood boiled, but I forced a smile, the kind you give a snake before you step back. "I've got the deed," I said, voice steady but sharp. Karen's eyes narrowed, her lips pursing like she'd sucked a lemon. "Deeds don't mean much when the HOA governs," she snapped, thrusting her clipboard forward as if it were a gavel. "This land's been reclassified. You're trespassing." Trespassing. The word landed like a punch to the gut. I'd driven 12 hours from the city, my pickup rattling over dirt roads, the radio spitting static as I pictured this moment unlocking the cabin, breathing in the musty cedar smell, starting fresh. Now this woman, with her pristine khakis and her HOA badge glinting like a sheriff's star, was telling me it wasn't mine. I wanted to scream, to tear that clipboard from her manicured claws, but I swallowed it down, my breath hitching in my chest. "Let's see what the county says," I said, turning away before she could see the fire in my eyes. The next morning, I sat in the county clerk's office, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the air thick with the stale scent of coffee and old paper. My hands shook as I spread the deed across the counter. The clerk, a wiry man named Dale with glasses perched on his nose, squinted at the document, then at me. "This is old," he said, his voice slow, like he was tasting each word. "But it's legit. Filed in '73. Clear as day. You've got sole title to Lot 47. My heart leapt, a wild thing breaking free. But Dale's face darkened. "Problem is, the HOA's been claiming that land as common for years. They've got their own paperwork. Says the original owner, your granddad. I'm guessing never contested their reclassification." I drove back to the cabin, the clerk's words looping in my head like a bad song. The HOA had power. Sure, but they couldn't just steal land. Could they? The mountain road twisted through pines, their needles glinting gold in the morning sun. But all I could see was Karen's smug face. When I pulled up, she was there again, this time with a man in a polo shirt, Greg, her husband, HOA president, his smile as oily as the gel in his hair. "We're putting up a community gazebo here," he said, gesturing at my grandfather's lot like it was a blank canvas. "Great for property values." I clenched my fists, the leather of my gloves creaking. "This is my land," I said, voice low. "Dangerous." Greg chuckled, a sound like gravel underfoot. "Take it up at the HOA meeting. Tomorrow night. Bring your little deed." That night, I couldn't sleep. The cabin smelled of damp wood and memories Grandpa's pipe tobacco, the faint tang of whiskey he'd sipped by the fire. I sat at the old oak table, the one he'd built with his own hands, and pored over the deed, the county records I'd photocopied, anything to arm myself. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Back off. City boy. You don't know who you're messing with." My pulse spiked, a cold sweat prickling my skin. "Karen. Greg. Someone else." I tossed the phone aside, my breath shallow, and stared out the window into the black night. The mountains loomed, silent witnesses to my fight. The next day, I found something unexpected. While digging through Grandpa's old trunk-crusted hinges squealing as I forced it open, I found a letter, tucked inside a faded envelope. It was from 1985, addressed to the HOA, written in Grandpa's jagged scrawl. "I never agreed to your reclassification. Lot 47 is mine. Always will be. Cease your claims or face legal action. My heart thudded. He'd fought them. Even back then. Why hadn't he followed through? I kept reading. And there it was, a second letter. From the HOA. Dismissing his claim. Citing some obscure bylaw. They'd worn him down. An old man alone. My throat tightened. A lump forming as I pictured him. Defeated. His hands trembling as he folded the letter away. The HOA meeting was held in a community center that smelled of bleach and desperation. Folding chairs squeaked under the weight of neighbors, some curious, some hostile, all watching me like I was a stranger crashing their party. Karen stood at the front, her voice dripping with fake sweetness as she presented her case. Lot 47 was essential for community growth, for their precious gazebo. Greg nodded along, his arms crossed, a king surveying his court. I stood, my legs shaky but my voice steady, and held up the deed. This says Lot 47 is mine. Filed legally in 1973. Your reclassification. It's based on nothing but hot air. A murmur rippled through the room. A low hum like distant thunder. Karen's smile faltered, but she recovered fast. That deed's outdated, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. The HOA's authority supersedes it. I pulled out Grandpa's letter, my trump card, and read it aloud. Each word a hammer strike. The room went quiet, the air heavy with the weight of truth. Then, a woman stood up, Mrs. Delaney, gray-haired, her hands knotted with arthritis. I remember Eli, she said, her voice soft but firm. He fought for that land. The HOA bullied him, said he'd lose everything if he kept pushing. We all knew it was wrong. My chest tightened, a mix of gratitude and rage. Mrs. Delaney wasn't just a witness, she was a spark, igniting whispers among the crowd. The meeting spiraled from there. Neighbors started talking, voices rising, stories spilling out about Karen and Greg's strong-arm tactics, fines for unapproved mailboxes, threats over unmowed lawns. I watched Karen's face, her confidence cracking like thin ice. Greg tried to regain control, banging his gavel, but the room was alive now, a beast waking up. I stepped forward, my voice louder, clearer. I'm not my grandfather. I won't back down. I've got the deed. The county's backing. And now, it seems, the truth. I held up my phone, showing the text from the unknown number. And whoever sent this, you're not scaring me off. The next week was a blur of lawyers, county officials, and tense standoffs. Karen and Greg doubled down, producing their own stack of papers, bylaws, meeting minutes, anything to muddy the water. But the county clerk, Dale, was relentless. He dug deeper, found records showing the HOA's reclassification was never properly filed. It was a house of cards, and I was the wind. At the final hearing, held in a stuffy courtroom that smelled of polish and old leather, the judge's gavel came down like a thunderclap. Lot 47 belongs to the plaintiff, he said, his voice flat but final. The HOA's claim is invalid. I stood outside the courthouse, the mountain air cool against my skin, the deed safe in my pocket. Karen and Greg were there, their faces pale, their empire crumbling. Karen's eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw something, fear, maybe, or regret. But I didn't care. I thought of Grandpa, his calloused hands, his quiet strength, and I felt him with me, a warmth in my chest despite the chill. The crowd dispersed, whispers of justice floating on the breeze. Mrs. Delaney squeezed my arm, her smile soft but fierce. You did right by him, she said. Back at the cabin, I stood on the porch, the stars sharp above the pines, the night alive with the rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl. I breathed deep, the air tasting of freedom, of victory. The land was mine, not just on paper but in my bones. And as I lit a fire in the old hearth, the flames crackling like a song, I knew this wasn't just about a deed. It was about standing up, about fighting for what's yours, about proving the truth can still win. Karen and Greg would fade, their names a cautionary tale whispered at HOA meetings. But this cabin, this land, this legacy, it would endure.